I don't typically do a whole lot of canning videos on my channel, or at least I haven't in the past. But part of what I'm doing to get ready for postpartum is just trying to make some quick and easy meals, either things that I have frozen that can just be thrown in the crock pot or thrown in the oven and heated up, or things that I've canned into a jar that would make a quick lunch for me and Kyle and Miles during the postpartum time. I'm expected to deliver at the end of December, and so I am doing a bunch of like soups and stews and casseroles and wintertime comfort meals. And so today for supper, I'm making beef stew, and I figured I will just thaw out extra stew meat and peel and chop a bunch of extra vegetables, and that way I can put some stew into a jar and can it up, put it on the shelf, and it'll make for a few quick meals for us later with about the same amount of effort. If you're going to peel and chop all these vegetables, you may as well just do it the one time. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just peeling and chopping some potatoes, carrots, celery, and onion. And I am I'm confident with this because of who I have watched can and how they've canned it, and I'm confident with this recipe for myself. But do your own research. I'm not necessarily saying that this is an approved method or recipe, but I follow some pretty standard canning practices. I keep everything really clean, and I follow the pressure and time guidelines. And so I am comfortable with my family eating and consuming what I have canned. Do your own research, though. I always recommend the Ball Canning book or the National Guideline on Food Preservation. Really great resource to get some information on healthy food preservation methods and approved methods for your family. But what I did is I just put my stew meat and my vegetables into my jar, and you're going to see me now adding the beef stock that I had made in my roaster. I'm just straining it because I don't want the herbs or any bits of meat that might be in that broth to go into the jar itself. I'm filling this up to a 1-inch headspace. And then you'll see me here taking basically just a butter knife, and I use that to debubble. It's very important that you debubble. I actually put the lid on that first jar before I remembered. I had to go back and take it off. It's very important that you debubble. Wipe your rims really clean with vinegar on a paper towel. Put your lids on finger tight. And then I loaded it into my canner. I followed my canner's directions, and I pressure canned them at 10 pounds for 90 minutes. And now what you see me doing is starting the beef stew that will be for supper. And I am just adding a little bit of cornstarch and some salt and pepper to my stew meat pieces. And I'm going to coat them really well with that cornstarch mixture. And I'm going to put them in my club aluminum pan that had a little bit of avocado oil in the bottom heating up. This is just going to sear the meat. You do not have to cook the meat all the way through with this step, because this is going to cook on the stove low and slow for a few hours. So I just sear it on all sides, and I'm just kind of stirring it around because you don't want it to just completely stick to the bottom of the pan, although we are going to deglaze the pan, so it really doesn't matter that much. But I'm just kind of stirring it around, and I had to grab a pot holder because my club aluminum pan was sliding all over the place. But after that, all I'm going to do, after it's seared on all sides of the meat, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic and some tomato paste. And then I'm going to stir that around really well. And then this next step is where we are going to deglaze the pan. And I'm going to use some more of that beef stock that I had made. And basically I used about 4 cups of the stock. I just poured it all in, and then I stirred to get some of the bits of meat off of the bottom of the pan from when we seared it. And that's just going to keep all of that really good beef flavor in the stew. Now I'm adding all of my vegetables. I have potatoes, carrots, onion, and celery. I'm just slowly adding them because this is hot and you don't want it to slosh that liquid back up in your face. So once you've got them all added, you can kind of determine if you need more liquid. I did need a little bit more, and I didn't need a whole lot, so I just used a little bit of water, maybe about a cup. You just want to make sure there's enough liquid to cover all your vegetables so that they can cook until tender. Then I added some fresh parsley and basil, excuse me, not fresh, it is dehydrated. And then also I added paprika and a tablespoon of sugar. And then I'm just going to stir that in really, really well. And once that's all combined, I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil. And then once it's at a boil, I'm going to cover this with the lid and reduce the heat all the way to low as it will go. And I'm going to let this simmer for about 2 hours. And then right before serving, I put a little cornstarch slurry in and mix that in until it's become nice and thick. And then it is ready to serve. I made a couple loaves of whole wheat bread to go with our stew, and I actually sent 1 loaf of bread and a container of stew over to my in-laws. They've been working really hard at harvesting all of our beans and corn in the field, and it was kind of a later night, and I just wanted them to be able to go home and not have to worry about cooking, and we had plenty to share. So I sent that over, and it was absolutely delicious. Be sure to follow this playlist for more stocktober and pantry preparedness and nesting ideas. And if you have any ideas for me, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Thank you guys so much for following along and watching my videos, and I will catch you in the next one.